All right, this is the review for the final quiz for the fundamentals. And we did not cover too much information. We covered basically Christian Science and Mormonism. And so that is basically what the quiz is going to cover. Of course, we talked about Christian Science being a crazy religion, all right, founded by Mary Baker Eddy. The book that they use, they really don't use the Bible. They use Science and Health, all right? And basically their belief is that it's all in the mind. And in order to get saved, you just got to convince yourself you're not a sinner. And if you want to be healed of diseases, you just got to convince yourself that you're not sick. And of course, Christian Science is known for their healers, and they have their healing practitioners and that kind of stuff. We lost a few brain cells on that lecture, I'm sure. Then we spent quite a bit of time last week covering Mormonism. And we talked about, of course, Mormonism was founded by Joseph Smith Jr., and he was quite a terrible man, him and the Smith family. We mentioned the fact that the Smith family themselves were money diggers. They were just treasure hunters, the lowest kind of the low of society. The residents of Palmyra, New York, 62 of them signed an affidavit stating that the Smith family were a bunch of cheats and liars and treasure hunters. And so several people thought that of him. We mentioned, of course, the fact that Joseph Smith died by being lynched, and being lynched because they did burn down a printing press, and also he had been in jail for adultery. And of course, the Mormon Church doesn't want to admit that. We also mentioned some of his cohorts. Sidney Rigdon was very likely the writer of the Book of Mormon, or at least helped write the Book of Mormon. All right, he came under the teachings of Alexander Campbell, kind of merged some of that into the Book of Mormon, and was the probable writer. We mentioned 3 witnesses, and they have the 3 witnesses and the 8 witnesses, of course. And we mentioned the 3 witnesses claimed that they saw the angel Moroni and they saw the golden plates. The 8 witnesses said they just saw the plates. Needless to say, all of them signed on saying, we testify that the Book of Mormon is true. Now, we noticed several things about these different names. First of all, we noticed that they're practically all related. Several of them were Whitmers or Smiths, all right? Of course, Hiram Page was married into the Whitmer family. And so really, almost all of them were related to one, either the Whitmer family or the Smith family. We also mentioned that the 3 witnesses, their main witnesses that say they saw the angel and the plates, all 3 of them had been excommunicated from the Mormon Church not too many years after that, all right? Some of them went back to the Mormon Church later on, but they were excommunicated. Several of the 8 as well were excommunicated from the church. And so not a lot of trust there. We mentioned the fact that the Book of Mormon has several different holy books. Of course, they have the Book of Mormon. They also have what they call the Doctrine and Covenants, and we spent quite a bit of time looking at the Doctrine and Covenants and seeing some of the false doctrine given in there. They also have a book called The Pearl of Great Price, and then they use the King James Bible as well as one of their holy books, although they don't agree too much with the Bible, I don't think. All right, we mentioned the fact that they believe that Adam, of course, that it's actually a good thing that Adam and Eve sinned. And they actually think it was part of God's will that they sinned. That they would have never been able to achieve godhood if Adam had not sinned first, all right? And of course, that's kind of an odd thing. The last thing we kind of covered, and we kind of stopped in this section, was the fact that the Book of Mormon is a plagiarized book. It is plagiarized from the King James Bible, and it's also plagiarized by an unpublished novel written by Solomon Spaulding, who was a minister. That manual or that novel was called Manuscript Found, and several people signed an affidavit saying they heard Solomon Spaulding read his unpublished novel, and the characters, the storyline is all the same as the Book of Mormon. Of course, we mentioned the fact that the Book of Mormon is written in Victorian English, not in the English of Joseph Smith's day. Also uses multiple verses from the King James Bible, simply trying to plagiarize. And so we mentioned quite a bit of that. All right, pretty simple quiz there. All right, I think there's a bonus question or 2 on there. So hope you'll study hard and we'll see you on Tuesday.